Deshaun had a comment about Boots Ennis, right? Fighting another guy. It was a good, impressive win, knocked the guy out. And afterwards, they're talking to Errol Spence about it. And Errol said, "Look, I think the guy he fought, he was just in there for a paycheck, right? He didn't look like much, which is true, right? I think that guy took that fight on the last notice, right?
Yeah, I mean, and he said it to Ennis in the ring. That he had to do it. And nobody else wanted to take the fight. That guy that we're talking about is Custio Clayton. He was undefeated coming in. He's out of Canada, but I mean, Errol Spence was talking about the fact that he wasn't really doing a whole lot. Now, I mean, granted, the fight ended in the second round, and
Right.
I don't know anything about this guy. A lot of fighters start pretty slow, so maybe he was trying to ramp up. But what happened was, he Ennis threw a couple of jabs, to set up a right hand. Clayton ducked, and the right hand landed on the back of his head. And he went down and he was rolling around. You could tell he didn't have his equilibrium. He got up and he was just kind of stumbling around the ring, so they stopped the fight. Ennis looked good, for what it was, but it's past time for him to actually step up in the level of competition.
Yeah, but the next step should not be it shouldn't be Errol Spence, right? that's a giant step you're trying to take. That's how you fall down the stairs, right? Like, there are a lot of fighters in between him and Spence that he could take. And I get it, part of it is building the buzz now. I don't think he seriously thinks he's gonna get a fight right now. No. I think it's one of those things where you create the buzz.
Yeah, he's announcing himself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he's got a lot of fighters that on the list that he can fight next.
Yeah, Boots. Look, I'm with you, B, and I kind of got caught up in the. It's not hype, right? He's a good fighter, right? Mm-hmm. But I kind of got caught up in that, like, Boots is next type thing. But Boots got 29 fights or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Now it's time for a step up and fight. Now he is not ready for Errol Spence. He is not ready for Bud Crawford. He is not. But I agree with you, Zay. Yeah, you get it. You calling him out. You selling the fight. You selling the possibility of it. Cool. But he needs a name on his record. Now, to his defense, there's not a lot of people that's lining up to fight this guy, right? Mm-hmm. Because he is supremely talented. But they got to find a way to make it work and get this guy a fight so that he can earn it. Me and Jose were talking about this earlier. Like, you got to earn those things now. You got to earn a fight with Spence. You got to earn a fight with Bud Crawford, man. And, like, your resume right now is not saying that. I love him as a fighter. I think that he is it's talented, and he will be one of the best fighters in the game in that weight class. I do think he will. But yeah, Danny Garcia,
Virgil Ortiz,
Ugas, Keith Thurman. Yeah, I mean, I was telling Jose too earlier that I read something where he said that he thinks Thurman will be next for him. We'll see. And Jose made a great point about that, where I don't even know if Thurman is the right guy right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He may be, he may not be, but it's time to see if he's ready for that. Like, it's boxing promoters. They protect their fighters when they think they have a potential superstar, but not for 29 fights.
Right.
It's been too long, and he's already ranked at the top in that division. So if he wanted to say, hey, I'm going to demand a fight with the winner of Spence and Crawford, he could realistically do it. He might end up being a mandatory there. So, I mean, he has to take those fights. This isn't a mild step up to a journeyman time.
I think, and I see your comment here, Ferris. He says, I think it was a little early stoppage. It wasn't early. The guy got hit. I mean, his equilibrium was off. He wasn't. He
was standing there, and the ref told him to go stand in the corner, and then he tripped into the ropes.
Yeah. He couldn't get his legs under him. But I think a fight against somebody like Ugas, right, is a good challenge. If he's that guy, he will push him. And Ugas is ranked high enough to where, like, the fight makes sense right now, right? I don't know. I just think Keith Thurman is one of those fights when you haven't really fought anybody, and then you go to fight somebody like Keith Thurman. Of course, Keith Thurman would jump at that because he knows you don't have the experience to take on somebody like him. He'll take advantage of that. Um, Ugas is more of a, I mean, he's a good fighter, but he's more of a defensive fighter. Um, he doesn't pull out a bunch of other tricks, in the ring. I think that's a little bit easier of a fight. I won't call it easier fight. He's not an easy out, but I think that's a better matchup for Boots. But Keith Thurman, even Santa Cruz, I think wouldn't be a bad move for Enos, right? But Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Bud Crawford, none of those guys should be the next fight. The other guys that you can fight at your level right now, that generate some buzz. Maybe the next fight you fight Keith Thurman, right?
I would want to see him fight Virgil Ortiz because Ortiz needs to step up also.
Yes.
And then the winner of that go and fight a guy like Keith Thurman, and then the winner of that gets the title shot.
Yeah. It's time though. I did not realize he had 29 fights. I did not.
Right.
I did not because the way they talk about him and the way they have talked about him for the last year or two, it's been, oh man, this new up and coming prospect, and it's like, bro, like you have 29 fights. Like you're not a new up and coming I mean, like I said, I don't want to diminish, like, this kid is talented. He is very, very talented. He is. But be you 100% correct. It is that time. It's that time to move up. It is that time to cement your name with a defeat of a somebody. Like I said, I mean, I feel like Danny Garcia is a big enough name, right? That, you go in there. I think he's a game enough fighter. He'll give you a good bump. You go in there, you get a good win out of that. I think that would be a solid fight for him. If we're going to step above that, Ugas is, like you said, Ortiz. But I feel like they're protecting these guys. I feel like they're protecting Ortiz as well.
Yeah, but Ortiz is only at, I think, 18 fights.
Yeah,
so, but I would still like to see him. And that's why I think I would like to see him fight Ennis, because I think it's that time for him too. And you're not talking about the best in the world at Ennis.
Yeah.
You're talking about another guy who's trying to prove himself against top level competition.
Yeah.
Now, look, 29 fights is a lot, right? And it's funny how somebody like Ennis, who has 29 fights and he's up and coming. Somebody like Lomachenko, who had 10 fights at the time, like he's already a legend, right? It's funny how they can be promoted. But 29 fights, yeah, it could be a lot, but he could still. It all depends on the fighter. Like you're ready when you're ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another fight that was that came up this weekend was the guy Zurdo, right? Mm-hmm. Light heavyweight. He's 44-0 now. I don't think he's gotten a shot at the title yet. Right.
He's also Mexican though, and the scale is different when you're talking about the records for Mexican fights.
But 44 fights, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he hasn't even gotten a title shot yet. So I mean, my thing is you're ready when you're ready. I just don't want to see somebody like Boots catapulted up too high too fast, right? Let him get a good test against one of these other guys that are solid game fighters, and then we'll know more about it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And plus, like somebody like Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman needs to be He needs to be next, for in line for Errol Spence or Bud Crawford. He needs one of those fights, because I mean, that's what's missing on his resume, right? He's already been a champion. He's had a pretty good career. His career is coming to an end soon. This is the time. If you want to cement yourself, up there with those guys, you got to take on those fights.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, right? You would think it would go Thurman, Ugas next, right? Winner of that, getting a shot at the title. I don't know what Boots fits in on that. If they would even, leapfrog that to go to a Thurman fight. I mean, I don't know, but there's some guys out there that he can fight, man. There's some good solid fights out there for him. And I mean, Conor Benn. We talked about Conor Benn the other day. Like,
Mhm.
That's two young guys that's ready to, both of them. And let me say this. I do not think that is Boots that doesn't want to fight these guys. I do think he wants a shot at all of these guys.
Sure.
But Conor Ben is there. I called him the Russian the other night, and B corrected me.
Lithuanian, right?
Yeah. What is it, Stanonius or something?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, like that dude, like he's calling out. That guy has quietly been saying, "I want Spence." I want Crawford. So, maybe that's a good fight for Boots. We'll see, man. But you know what? It's a good thing to see because you got some up and coming fighters in this division that is going to keep it going. Clearly, it's a chance. We already know it's looking like Spence is going to move up to 154 after he fights Crawford. Crawford has flirted with the idea of that too. Even though I think Crawford will stay. I think he'll stay at 147. But man, we'll see, man. We'll see. But the good thing is there's some talent there, and we'll see what's coming next with that.